Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Passant's getting a lot of love today. 3 guests, including Elliotte Friedman, who's standing by. All of our guests today sponsored by Passant Motors. Passant Motors is turning the big 3-0, and they are ready to celebrate with some amazing deals. Find out more at basantmotors.com. We're getting a lot of response into the Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox regarding Robin Lehner's comments. A reminder that Is It Just Me is coming up a couple of segments from now, 2 or 3 segments from now. You can text us at 604-200-9494 as we bring in Elliotte Friedman from Sportsnet, Hockey Night in Canada, 32 Thoughts podcast. Elliotte, how are you, sir?
I'm good, guys. How are you doing?
Very well. What did you read into Robin Lehner's social media comments on the weekend, causing quite a stir?
Well, for me, I think it all starts with the Eichel thing. Lehner has made it very clear, and, I will have to say this, a lot of other players have started to say privately that they're not really happy with what's kind of going on with Eichel here, in the sense that, Buffalo and him disagree on the surgery option. Buffalo has a hammer by the CBA, and also, they're driving a hard bargain in trading him. And I think there's some concern here that, what could happen here? I think his agents, and I know you just had J.P. Barry on, that, they're trying to work and grind towards getting something done. But I think Eichel's worried about losing his opportunity to go to the Olympics and play deep into the season. And I think a lot of Lehner's motivation is out of that. I think I think we saw kind of the danger of Twitter, because now, he wasn't trying to accuse Alain Vigneault of giving players medicine that they shouldn't have,
right?
But it got garbled into that. And Vigneault had to defend himself against that today, and then Lehner walked it back and said that's not what he meant. And that's always, people ask me why I'm very careful now, especially on Twitter. It's just because of stuff like this. It could be a very bad place to do these kinds of things. But I think at the end of the day, Lehner's motivation was Eichel. And number 2, he's a guy who's been through an awful lot.
Yep.
And I think he legitimately wants to make sure that nobody else goes through that.
Elliotte, we were just talking about the days of old when there were stories about NHL players having bowls of Sudafed available to them in locker rooms, and they'd help themselves. What kind of education do players get from what you know when it comes to painkillers these days?
I've been trying to, Don, that's one thing that I've been working on, just getting a reaction to it. And, one thing I do know is that in 2013, with the CBA that was done then, they really kind of rewrote the rules about this. I basically what someone told me was it was something that they realized they had to be better with. And I did have one trainer who reached out to me yesterday. There were a lot of guys who didn't want to talk to me yesterday. This situation is red hot. The last thing we want to do is pour any gasoline on it, good or bad. I did have one trainer who spoke to me, and he said, look, our organization made this a priority, and, I know that if I do anything that they disagree with, I'm in big trouble here. Now, I'm not naive either. Sports and pills and antidepressants and sleep pills have been an issue for a long time. We have, big drug issues in North America's society. I think we have to be vigilant. And the one thing that Lehner accomplished here is that, he's shone a spotlight on it, and if you lose the vigilance or there's teams that aren't doing it properly, I think that's all going to be dealt with right now, or at least going to be discussed right now at the very least.
Elliotte, of course, the big news on the weekend, Pettersson and Hughes signed. Your thoughts, how it all came together for you, and the urgency that both sides showed in the last 2-3 days?
Well, I listened to you browbeat JP in the last segment. I can't believe there's anything left of him. I think that, look, it's a victory for the Canucks because they're there. It's a victory for them because they're very handsomely paid. I think this is a huge year for your team. I think the Pacific is wide open, especially after Vegas on paper. And, I really believe that, you guys have a chance to, in a division, like every team in that division has flaws. The Canucks are no different. But I think, like, your high-end talent is really good. And I'm a big Demko guy. So I think you guys have a chance to do something in that division. But if you don't have them, it's obviously very different. So I think it's a big win for the players, the organization, and the fans that they're in there. I think I'm not worried that they missed a week and a half of camp. I think that's what Travis Green is there to do, just worry about things that exist. But I don't think that matters at all. I think they're going to be fine, and I think Pettersson in particular is going to have a monster season for you guys.
Can you, Elliotte, give us an update on Travis Hamonic? Your thoughts when he could be back in that Vancouver lineup?
Well, I just everybody's being really careful about this, and I think there's good reason for that. I think there's a lot of conflicting information. The last thing I'd heard is that he was going to play, and he obviously didn't opt out, but it would be unlikely that he'd start the year. So I'm kind of sticking with that. I mean, I guess there's still a chance he could, but I'm kind of sticking with that. I think he's going to play. I just don't expect him to start the season.
Okay, Elliotte, Sheldon Keefe, 2-year contract extension from the Leafs. Does that make sense?
It does, because in this country, look what happened last year when you guys had Green going in the last year of his deal. I mean, Rick was driving the market with that story.
Come on, Elliotte.
There were so many. Not even Travis Green's wife was up to date as much in the situation as you were.
Thank you for that.
So I think that's what happens, right? It becomes a distraction every day. So I think the GM in Toronto, Dubas, believes in Keefe. I thought, I don't know if you guys have watched the Amazon series at all, but Keefe was probably, quote unquote, the star of the series. He swears a lot. We learned that. But I think they believe in him. So my theory is, if you believe in him, don't leave him hanging. End it, and that's what they did. And I think this was done some time ago.
Hey, Elliotte, we take our shots at Toronto here on the show, as you know.
Quite a bit.
But but what was Toronto like the past few days with all the wild card hunt going on?
It was awesome. Guys, I like to see Canadian teams do well.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I hope I get to do in my career before Sportsnet fires me, is that I get to cover a Canadian team winning the Stanley Cup. I don't care which one it is. I just want to be there to see it. And so last weekend with the Jays in the run, it's awesome. You guys have been there for big Canucks playoff runs. Mm-hmm. Isn't Vancouver a much more fun city when the Canucks are hot and going for it?
Not after Game 7, Elliotte.
No, but I think it's in the middle. That's the way we felt yesterday. But in the middle of it, you actually enjoy going to work. Everybody's in a better mood. People aren't swearing at each other for no reason. The city is a more fun place to be when your sports team is making a run for it. And it was awesome the last few days. I got to tell you, so it's my son's birthday's coming up. We had a birthday party last night for him. And we're watching just the Nationals melt down. And we've got the Mario cake coming out, and he's the happiest guy in the world. And and meanwhile the Nationals bullpen is falling apart. I don't want to say it ruined my son's birthday because nothing could do that, but it certainly cast a slight pall on it for a couple of minutes.
Elliotte, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
All right, guys. Have a great week.